Here is a trick called the full Monty. I said full Monty. That's where you ask a volunteer to come up and you tell them you're going to turn your back, and what they're to do is to take one of the three cards and turn it face down. So let's say that their eyes are attracted to this bright color and they turn this down. Now your second part of your instructions are to take the other two cards and swap them. They have to do that. That's a mandate. And also flip them over. And they do that. Now I, the magician, re-enter the room. I turn back around, or I uncover my eyes. I'm unblindfolded. And then I'm going to start my examination. And I could start from here. And I say, Now, I keep going. And I say, And I say, I think that you picked this card. And they said, man, how did you know that? I said, well, let's do this again. So we start off with the cards in the position that they were in the first time. I get myself blindfolded. I turn around or I leave the room. And the instructions are the same. They are to move one of the cards, turn it over. And let's say in this case they do this one. And then swap the other two cards and turn them over. Those are specific two instructions that they must follow to the T. I come back in the room. Now remember, this is the third option. I tell them that they have the option of now exchanging as many of the cards as they want. So let's say they go like this. They say, okay, I want to go like this, and then I want to go like that. Then I say, okay, and then I come over. I turn over the card and I say, you know what? I think this is your card. Now I'm going to do the reveal in about 5 seconds. So if you don't want to hear the reveal, then please go away. Now I take it that if you're still around, that means you want to hear this reveal. Let's go back to the steps as they were. They were in a very specific order, as you will soon find out the reason. You as the magician, before you're blindfolded, before you turn your back or before you leave the room, you have to acquire one particular important piece of information. And that one particular important piece of information that you have to acquire is, what is the card in the first position? In this case, it was the King of Clubs. It could have been either of these other two cards, but in this case, it just so happened to be the King of Clubs. So I'm paying attention to that. I leave the room. Now here's where they do their mumbo jumbo. In the first case, they turned this over and they switched the places of these two. I come back in the room. I say, okay, you can switch the cards as much as you want again. But what I'm doing is I'm paying attention to here, because this should be the King of Clubs if all goes well. So when they start to switch, and they can switch as much as they want, I don't care how much they switch, I'm paying attention to this card right here. Then they say, okay, do what you do your magic. Well, I'm going to do my magic. I'm going to pretend to look at the other cards, but I'm going to draw my attention to here, which should be my king. And since it's not, I know that they must have switched it. And I also know that my king is not the card. So that lets me know that there's no other choice. This has to be the card, because this is, of course, is my king. This is a top 50 trick. It didn't make my top 10. Most definitely didn't. It's a little bit complicated. The payoff's not as big as my top 10 tricks. It didn't make my top 20, but it didn't miss it by a lot. So that's where it's left to make my top 50, which really is no insult. It's actually quite an accomplishment.